Hello, Halligans, and welcome back to another episode where that would be myself, Ryan, my co-host, is blurring in and out of existence. Joe. I just want to talk about movies and hang out because we think we're funny. Maybe somebody out there will think we're funny. I don't know. We just like doing this. But we're going to talk about Renfield. Renfield is probably a movie a lot of people have missed unless people have been following Nicolas Cage's resurgence in the last few years, where almost everything he makes is just gold. Well, Renfield came out in 2023. It's a short movie. It's only about an hour and a half long, and it stars Nicholas Hoult as Renfield himself, Nicolas Cage as Dracula, which is spelled with a K, by the way, in the credits of this movie, I believe. Aquafina.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that for your day.
There's that.
And oh my god, Shorey Agdashlu. It honestly looks like somebody just shook up some Scrabble tiles and threw them out. That doesn't look like a real name to me.
I think I know what character it is you're referring to who would have that name.
It's the lady with the voice.
Yeah.
Because I think I've seen her, and I'm fairly certain I've heard her in other things. I'm pretty sure that she played this older woman assassin whose name I can't think of right now in Assassin's Creed Valhalla and in Mirage. Later in Mirage, although Mirage chronologically came before Valhalla.
Okay.
But a very distinctive voice. It's like the voice you would expect Brad Pitt's character in Inglourious Bastards to have, like somebody who's been hung or hanged, I should say. But this is a movie that I saw had middling reviews, but it just looked ridiculous. Kim lasted about 8 minutes into it before she's like, nope, I'm out. I'm not into this gore and stuff. Despite the fact that her way of relaxing is to sit in the bath and watch YouTube videos or documentaries on Max or whatever else on her iPad about the most horrific murders and mutilations you could imagine.
Yeah, that's a standard chick thing right now for sure. I
don't know why that's
that's not good. It's not. My wife doesn't do that. You might need to watch your back.
Yeah. When the baby starts doing it, when she's old enough to do that, the first time I hear that from her room, like, men aren't going to have man caves anymore. We're going to have panic rooms. But do you want to get into what you thought, what you felt? I don't think you knew really anything about this until you saw this in my collection.
Nick and Nick.
Nick and Nick, yeah.
I didn't know a bunch about this movie. I had seen that it was a thing. I like both of them as actors, whether it's Cage or Holt. I like both of the Nicolais. I am not really, if I'm honest, like if I'm just bare my soul, not the biggest Aquafina fan. I've seen her in several things. She was in the second Jumanji remake. She was in Disney's Raya the Dragon or something. I don't know. And the Shang-Chi, the Marvel Shang-Chi movie, which, I mean, she's like a specific character type actor where she plays the same thing. It's just like, it's almost like Keanu Reeves. I'm just going to be myself in the movie and you're going to film it. And that's what I'm going to be.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I didn't dislike her as much in this movie. She plays the daughter of a police officer who was apparently a very upstanding, honest, forthright cop, which I liked that. I liked that was how it was portrayed. And she's on this basically corrupt police force. With everything that's going on, I ended up liking her character more than I thought I would. Even though there's some scenes we'll get into which, just were a little bit of ridiculousness. But this movie, I didn't really know a lot about it. I knew it was a Dracula movie, that it had these, the Nicolais and everything, but I didn't know really what it was about. So it's kind of like a modern updated Dracula tale where they just take Dracula from the time frame in which you normally see him, like Bram Stoker's Dracula time frame with the very, very great Gary Oldman. And they bring it into modern times. And I thought they did it in an interesting way. Nicholas Hoult, I don't know if his character was my favorite in this. I liked Nicolas Cage. I mean, who doesn't like Nicky Cage? He made some poor monetary decisions in his life and then had to take a series of just low budget, I got to pay the bills movies. And then, like you had said, had this resurgence. Renfield was one. The massive weight of I'm getting it wrong. Him and that other super popular actor
The unbearable weight of massive talent. Yeah, that's the one that the meme is from, with him and Pedro Pascal in the car.
Mm-hmm. Which looks really good, and I do want to see it. Halligan's, you'll probably get a review of that from us at some point, because I really want to watch that too. So I thought he did a good job as Dracula. I like how he portrayed it. Not sure how I felt about this movie as on the whole.
On the whole, you would say it doesn't necessarily feel good?
I mean, it needs a little something, I think.
Maybe if they had more preparation.
Yes, maybe some more preparation. This movie, whereas I didn't know what to expect, and I liked how different and interesting it was. There were some aspects of Nicholas Hoult's character that I thought were a little more feminine than I'd like. But it's not like it didn't fit for the story. He's in this toxic relationship. He's going to these AA meetings, but it's for people who are in these weird relationships, which it definitely counts for him. I thought it had some fun action scenes that was unexpected. I like how they almost fourth wall with him and the bug thing in the very beginning. Oh, yeah, I eat bugs. That's how I get my power. This is going to be a thing throughout the entire movie. Like, they just kind of, just threw that out on Front Street. Overall, I thought this was an interesting version of a Dracula tale. It was something, as I said, didn't know what to expect. And it was, I mean, if I could have put any expectations to it, this defied all of those. Any ones that I could have had. I assumed it was going to be humorous in some way, which they certainly tried to make it. It had some serious points. And some of the serious points that actually were the things that involved Awkwafina's character that are what I appreciated more. How she portrayed some of the things in it. And it was what I thought was going to happen. Like 30 minutes in, I'm like, oh, I know what's going to happen. This is how the end's going to play out. But it wasn't how the end played out, specifically how I expected. There were some good moments of Dracula killing people. If you're going to see a Dracula movie, like a Blade movie or something, that's what you want to see. You want to see some people getting killed, slashed up, a little bit gory, pretty good. There were definitely moments in this I enjoyed. If overall, I don't know if it was my favorite thing that I've ever watched. That's for sure. You had seen this before, and so you had recommended it to me to watch so that we could talk about it, and it was already on my radar for sure.
Yeah, but you saw it in my collection, and you're like, "Oh, what is that? How is that? I've heard of that."
Mm-hmm.
Then we decided to talk about it. I really enjoyed this movie. It's one where I sat down. I have a crippling YouTube addiction. Funny enough, since this is going to go on YouTube, I want to post more than I watch because I just have a bad time of I sit down. It's like, I don't want to watch something too long. So I watch like a 15-minute sort of like mini documentary about why the economy sucks and why people my age are never going to own homes, or why my kids are going to be like, I don't know, they're going to go back
Destitute,
to
is
the
that the
coal
word you're looking
mines.
for?
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like I need to get away from this stuff. So I started trying to just watch more movies, watch more TV whenever I have that. Like I will purposefully sit down and watch something. This was one of those. It's like, okay, this keeps showing up. Let me see what this is about. And it was just super fun. And I don't know what happened to Nicolas Cage. It's like he was going through it after The Rock. I've talked about this before. After The Rock, things just went downhill for him. That's kind of my estimation of when that happened. But it's like somebody just talked to him. They're like, all right, you need to take several seats and get your stuff together. You need to lean in to this crazy persona that people have developed around you. Like these, him in the Superman suit and these things that he's wanted to do and these weird decisions that he's made in his personal life, some of the financial things that you've kind of alluded to before. Like, didn't he buy a castle and he bought like all these collectibles, or he bought several castles? Whatever it
Dinosaur
is.
skull. Bought a dinosaur skull.
Yeah, he's done all kinds of stuff, and it's like you've developed this really interesting mythos online. So lean into it and start making these crazy movies that are just super fun. And that's what this one is. And I love Nicholas Holt. I think he was great in the X-Men movies. I think he was great in this. I think it is ridiculous if the rumor I heard is true that it was between him and uh oh my god, Sparkle
Robert
Vampire Boy.
Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
There you go.
If it was really down to him and Robert Pattinson to be the new Batman, I think Nicholas Holt is a much better fit for Bruce Wayne as far as the way he looks.
Mhm.
I think Robert Pattinson did an amazing job in that movie. Like, I'm happy with what I got, but I still think I would like the option. I'd like to just take a peek over to the timeline where Nicholas Holt got it and see what he did. Like, did he buff up a whole bunch and just turn into a monster, kind of like Mark McGuire did back in the day, between when he was on the A's and when he was in the Cardinals?
Got you.
Are we interrupting your texting? Are you playing a video
No, I'm
game?
trying to look up. I wanted to know what came first when you mentioned it. You said The Rock. Was it Rock came first or Con Air? Because it was like The Rock. There was Con Air. There was Face Off. He had some
I
ones like
feel
right in that same, all in that same time frame, really close. That's when he really kind of blew up, which was after Raising Arizona, which I made you watch. I don't know how much you really got to pay attention to it. It was my introduction. Thank you, Dad, to Nicolas Cage, and it's it's wild. It's got him. It's got Holly Hunter. It's just ridiculous. It's just utter ridiculousness. It's got John Goodman, and I really enjoy that. That was my first introduction to him, and he's always
yeah,
been
he's
this.
almost unrecognizable because he's so young in that movie.
Really young. Oh man. Uh, H.I. McDonough was his character's name in that movie. Everybody called him High. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, he had this span of movies in a short amount of time, and he really kind of blew up. But he's always been this off the wall character actor, really gets into his roles. And I mean, I've always really enjoyed him. I can't imagine, like, I had seen a couple of years ago, I was working at a different job, and I had the opportunity while I was working to, doing some mundane parts of my job, excuse me, where I could watch movies, pop my phone up, watch some movies while I was doing it. And I watched some of these lower budget, Nicky Cage movies that I kind of enjoyed them.
Yeah,
They were good.
They seem so. I was watching something a while ago, and I read about it a little bit too. These movies that I keep seeing pop up that have like Bruce Willis in them, and there's like tons of them. I mean, like multiple coming out a year. And I found out that what it is there are these little movie studios that are basically spending almost all their very small budget to hire somebody like Bruce Willis to do a couple scenes where he's pretty much being filmed alone, or he's just doing like recording some just recording lines, just voice stuff, nothing else. And then they're building a whole movie around that just so that they can get, trick enough, I guess, older people who don't know any better or whatever into buying these from like the bargain bin at Walmart or Dollar General or wherever you're going to find them, or streaming them somewhere because they've got Bruce Willis in them. And you could be forgiven for thinking that this Nicolas Cage stuff is the same thing, but it's totally not. It's
him.
very original and they're very good
into every role. Another movie, a good, point of that is that movie that we reviewed a while ago. You can find it on our podcast, Movie Health, and that's Willy's Wonderland. Nicolas Cage was in that, and it was fantastic. It was so much better than it literally had any right to be, and he didn't say one word in the entire movie. I won't spoil anything for it. Sorry if that spoils it for you. Nothing. And it's still absolutely fantastic. The movie, every decision they made, it's so well done. And they didn't have to pay him to talk. They just had to pay him to do some stuff. Super fun. The things that I
too wonder if he got paid differently since it was a non-speaking role. I wondered that when we were watching it, but
I mean, it's certainly possible. If anybody knows, throw it down in the comments. Let us know if you know if Nick Cage got paid differently for that. It sounds like something that makes sense. You didn't speak, or if you only speak and you're not actually, spending all this time acting, you have to feel like when you just do voiceover work, that's going to, pay out differently than, Tom Cruise, who's doing all his own stunts, or Jackie Chan or something, where that's different, a whole different set of skills that one has to have.
Yeah, I wonder how Tom Cruise gets insured.
Expensively.
Yeah, I don't even know how. Oh my god, I can't even imagine.
All right, the level of star that he is, but okay, so what you mentioned here with
there's somebody with the green visor and the little things on his sleeves, with the tabulating machine. He's he hung off a what? He jumped off a. Say that again. He hung off the side of a cargo plane. They could have just used a green screen, right? Oh, he thought it would look more real. Okay, all right, sure, yeah. Great. Oh my god.
Dedication. I like it. I like it. I mean, he might be a little bit nuts, but that's okay. I like the dedication. So what you said with the Bruce Willis thing, I think that's something that's endemic of Hollywood right now. The fact that we used to go to the movies because of the name of the actor who played in them in a role. Oh, it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Oh, it's a Catherine Zeta-Jones movie. Oh, it's whoever it is. You can pick some older names if you really want to, but nowadays it's not as much about that, especially after the Marvel era, which you know what, we'll get into that later on the next one, because we're also reviewing a Marvel movie next, so I'll get into that one a little bit later. But
I thought maybe you wanted to talk about the Goonies with the way you were saying that.
Fuck you. It used to be that way, where you would just throw somebody's name onto a movie, and because their star name meant something, it's got Brad Pitt, I'm gonna go see that because I like this actor. I still feel like maybe it's because I'm old school that I like to do that. That I see an actor that I like, or a director or something, and it was they did this movie. Like the director, and I can't remember his name right now, but who did Upgrade. Oh, that was really clever. That was low budget, but really well done. So let me see what they do next. Things like that, where I would still do that, but I don't know if that's how the general audience views it anymore. And so that's just a general change, I'd say, that has swept through Hollywood, where you're not really going I mean, they're kind of banking on a star name, but not so much.
Yeah.
Now they're banking on, well, now they're banking on previous IPs, property
Yeah.
that has they know. Oh, I can throw Snow White's name on something and it's going to make money. I can throw this name on it, and so because people already know that product, it's going to make money. That's not. It's not why I go see movies. I want to go see something because it's actually going to be quality, and hopefully when they do that, because I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong. Hopefully, I'd like to think that trend is going to go away because of how unlucrative it has been for Hollywood. And realistically, the producers, the movie studios, they're in it to make money. And so if they've been losing money, they are going to start changing what they do. The whole point is to make the money. So I hope that it might change. But if it doesn't, like that's not drawing me in. So all I can do is hope that the people who do it, and something that I just interacted with that I thought was very much like this, was the video game Hogwarts Legacy. That's based obviously on the Harry Potter series, and it takes you into that world. And within the first 15, 20 minutes of playing that game, I really felt like the people who created this, one of the things about them was they loved the source material and wanted to do it justice. And I really appreciated that about that game. It has its ups and downs. There's things I could praise about it, things I could criticize about it. That doesn't matter, because what I felt was that they really loved the source material. And so I feel like Hollywood's going to continue to do this, whether it's with Netflix adaptations on Prime, in the movies, whatever it is. They're going to continue to use already existing properties. I just hope that whoever chooses to do it appreciates where it's coming from and tries to do it justice, because that's the fans of those things who you're really trying to appease. And when you talk about being a fan of something like that, being a fan of whether it's comic books or an existing book series or whatever, or old movies that have already been made, even if it doesn't make any sense, people feel they have ownership to those. They're like, oh, I expect it to be a certain way. I expect a character to act a certain way because that's who this character is. It was like if Tony Stark came out and didn't act like Robert Downey Jr., who had played Tony Stark for years at this point. If they make Marvel movies 10 years, 20 years down the road, and they reintroduce Iron Man, somebody has to play him at least similar to that, because that's who we expect as a character. That's what his character is from the comic. That's what it is. And people really do, rightly or wrongly, take ownership of that. And you need to please your core audience. Otherwise, as Hollywood has found out, they're going to lose. And they have lost a lot recently in the past 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah, I feel like Nicolas Cage is becoming one of those actors through these where if he's in it, you can trust that it's going to be pretty good. And in a lot of ways, like seemingly self-aware. Just to bring it back to this, because I agree with basically everything you said. But this, I think that's probably part of why this is so good to me, because it's such a departure from the things we've been getting lately. It gives you a lot of what you would expect, but it gives you a lot of new things too. Like it gives you Renfield, who's doing what everybody does in a vampire movie when they're really the good guy, is they're like trying to either kill bad guys or get the vampires to go after bad guys instead of just normal innocent people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's doing. That's why he's at these meetings. He's like, okay, this person has an extremely abusive boyfriend, husband, whatever, that it would be better if they were gone. And also Nicolas Cage is hungry. I'm going to send him after those. And I love where Nicolas Cage is talking about, or Dracula is talking about, you keep bringing me these evil people. I need innocent people. He's like, he's like a busload of cheerleaders. He's like, that's all I need. And I'd be back to full strength. And part of it is Renfield's like, yeah, but every time you get to full strength, something big happens and we have to move. And it's this big ordeal and I have to nurse you back to health. And that's when he realizes from going to these meetings, they finally like draw him into it. I love that he also makes no attempt to blend in. He's still wearing like 100-year-old suit that's all tattered. But they're like, okay, what about you? You've been coming for a while, and he's like, yeah, I guess I am in an abusive relationship. And they're like, and what if you stop feeding into it? He's like, he won't grow to full power. The guy's like, that's so weird. Why would you say that? But also, yeah, he won't.
And then if you get away, you'll get to grow to full power. I get to grow to full power.
Yeah.
You're right, and there were some moments in
just
this movie that I really did enjoy. One of which being one of the girls in those meetings that he interrupts twice as he comes in and he's like, "Well, I want to talk now." He's like, "Oh, well, my problems. I guess I don't need whatever. That's how I feel about myself." And it's just there were some pretty good moments in this. That I mean, if we are gonna bring it back onto the movie that we're talking about, yeah, how when he's bringing Dracula these evil people, I viewed it as because he's bringing them the dregs of society, and the first people that we see him in the modern age go after are these guys who just stole drugs from somebody. So I'm like, oh, they're drug addicts, and Dracula doesn't want to drink the blood of drug addicts because that's all that it's messed up. It's not giving him what he needs. So whether it's that being a part of it or the innocence being a part of it, excuse me, I kind of felt like it could have been either one of those. They didn't make clear reference to that, but that's kind of where my brain went with it. Not so much as, oh, they're innocent, but that the people who he's bringing them, these are like, crackheads and just bad people. And so it's actually tainted the blood which he's trying to subsist on. I kind of saw it that way. But whether it's, the innocent side, oh, I want some nuns and some cheerleaders. Like it was good. As we kind of talk about it, it might be one of those things that I'm appreciating it more than I did in the moment because it's kind of weird. It's kind of just, it's really off the wall there. If you don't know what's going on with this, it's just unlike anything that has ever been attached to Dracula that you've ever seen.
Yeah, and for me, I'm so used to disliking Aquafina because I just find her very irritating. I liked her a lot in this. I really like the way I like the way they did everything with her. I like that she's just a normal cop. She's not a super cop. She's just
except for that one scene.
Okay. She how do I mean, I was expecting her to be like a match for him because that's what they keep doing. It's like Renfield's 200, 300 years old, something like that. He has a part of the power of Dracula. He can do all these things. And I expected them to be like on equal footing, and they're totally not. He's bailing them out of these situations. She's doing her own thing and like holding her own, which is what you would do. Like in Buffy, the normal human characters were not just useless and helpless without Buffy around or without Angel or Spike or whoever else was superpowered and helping them out. It's one of the things that always bothered me for the first couple seasons that I watched of The Flash is like anybody who doesn't have superpowers is useless. And at the same time, that series spawned from Arrow where nobody has superpowers and they're all kind of getting in on it. They're like, oh, I guess I just need to train. Oh, this character's been training for a couple seasons now. Okay, now they're going to be a hero too. But they show her just wanting to be a good cop and particularly to live up to what her dad would have wanted and to like to honor his memory and his reputation and all that and to just not be corrupt, not give in to the things that got him killed. And it's like such a relatable, believable, like real world thing that does not reek of any kind of preachiness or messaging about gender roles or anything like that. I mean, there's some kind of feminine stuff, like you said, with Renfield, particularly the way he definitely has a live, laugh, love poster somewhere in that apartment. After he kind of like goes fully in with this like battered partners group, like the support group thing. But that's part of the joke is that he's finally starting to live his own life again, and he's just like he's living like you would if you thought Instagram was the real world. he's dressing like that. He's buying like the books. He's got knickknacks and things, and I think it's fantastic. It's such a
Yeah,
good depiction. And I love
Oof.
when Dracula shows up too.
I
I
was getting
love
ready to
it.
bring that up. That scene in particular, he comes
Yeah,
home, he's in
and
the sweater, and Dracula's just sitting there in his apartment. Hey, how's it going? Does this mean you're not bringing me dinner tonight, or? And eventually, it escalates to a point where he holds up a book like he would hold up the Bible to a Dracula to like with a cross to like ward him off. Yet it's how to get out of a narcissistic relationship or how to, not be uh just overruled by a narcissist, whatever the book, and just
yeah,
that was a very good scene, a very good interaction. And where that one went, I really like that. How he looks in the back of it, he sees where it came from, and then he goes to the support group, and that whole thing that was great. I really enjoyed that. I don't know how much I enjoyed the end of it. With it's it when that happened in the movie, it really upped the stakes of what was going on. Like, oh, he just and spoilers. Sorry for anybody who's hadn't seen this yet. Um, it really upped the stakes because he just got a bunch of these people who you wouldn't have considered them friends per se, but he knew them. And he knew them for a long time. And they were innocent people who he, because of this, just gets them killed. Utterly slaughtered, nothing they can do, killed. And that was it. It was kind of a powerful moment in that, like, oh, like an oh shit moment, because like, oh, that just happened. And him having to deal with the consequences of that. And to be fair, Renfield himself, Nicholas Holt's character, as the story progresses, you find out some things about him. About it's not that he's just under the thumb of Dracula, that he made some decisions and he made some choices because of his own greed or lust for power or whatever it was that, I think I deserve these things. And this is where he ended up with it. But he's where he is because of choices that he made. And that's a good moral to a story. That the
it is,
choices that the choices
especially in
you
like
make
the
matter.
victim, yeah, and especially in like these victim Olympics that we have on social media where people want to. I mean, there's things that happen to everybody that are not their fault.
Yep.
I mean, everybody has had something happen to them that's not their fault, where they feel that something should be done for them or against some other person or some other party. It's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about kind of this tendency to say that like the thing that happened to me is not it has nothing to do with me. Like I see this in people who are like, well, I got fired from a job because my girlfriend would come into the store and like stand there with me at the cash register and talk to me the whole time. And my boss is mean because they don't want that to happen, because they don't want you to be distracted and screw up their business. But yeah, I like that in this one, he starts blaming Dracula for all of it, and then Dracula's like, "No, no, you didn't have to do this. I gave you a choice. Like you were off trying to find your way to kind of get into this life, and just
Yeah, he wanted
responsibility."
to make a real estate deal
Yeah,
way back in that
yeah,
time
he
frame.
left.
That he was
Yeah, left his family to go try to make this deal, and then he's like, Dracula's like, "Yo, you'll make a good familiar or assistant or however he
familiar,
talks
yeah,
about it the
a
first."
familiar
I,
slash
I'm
assistant.
not. Yeah, I'm not sure what he calls it the first. Like chronologically, the first time he says it. But Renfield's like, "All right,
Nicholas
I'm in."
Holt, Renfield refers to himself as a familiar,
Yeah.
which I feel like the first time I heard that term was in Blade. I feel like that's the
Yes.
first time I
Yeah.
heard the term familiar.
I
But yeah,
think so too.
it's this
And
movie is
there's a
kind of about his realization that oh, maybe I'm more personally responsible for my own actions, even though I've done this thing for so long, even though I'm trying to give Dracula these wretched humans out of society. I'm trying to, take people off the street who are I already know they're bad, like a Dexter situation. I know they're bad, and so that's who I'm going to go after to be, to feed my vampire lord. He came to some realizations about himself and his own personal responsibility in things. And this is the lesson that I think is really that shines through here, you could say, is the same lesson I've tried to teach my kids is like you had just talked about. Things are going to happen to you in your life. And sometimes you have zero control over those things. You don't. And I even tell them, you're not going to have any control how you feel about those things. When something happens to you that was a totally outside situation, you don't control how you feel about it. What you control is how you react to it. What can you do? Like, my son was he did a basketball camp not too long ago, and they were doing a drill. And he said he was sitting there waiting to start. And before they even blew the whistle to start, another kid reached out and smacked the ball out of his hand, which was part of the drill to try and get the ball away from somebody. And so he was immediately out, even though they hadn't quite blown the whistle yet. And I said, hey, man, he may have done something wrong. That's accurate. But you can't worry about that. All you can worry about is what could you have done better personally to keep that thing from happening. You could have held the ball differently. You could have done that's all we can do. What can we do personally to affect the world around us? You cannot worry about all the different things that are going to happen to you. And I have a personal thing where I don't worry about things that I cannot get up and affect change on in the moment. If I can't get up and do something about a problem that's going on, I'm not going to just sit around my house. It's so bad. There's these bills and there's this and there's. Well, if I have bills that are coming due, but I don't get paid till next Friday, I'm not going to worry between now and next Friday. I'm just going to wait. Well, when I get paid, I'm going to pay my bills and then I'm done. And then I took care of the thing. But there's no point in worrying about it if you can't affect it. So all you can do is control yourself. And I thought the message in this movie was pretty good. I really did enjoy that. And as you said, I enjoyed Awkwafina more than I have in other things that anything else that I've seen her in. And she's one of these people who I feel like I don't even have a realistic reason for why I don't like them. It's just somebody who and there's people who are going to be in your life like that. Like some people have a overwhelming desire to be liked by everybody. And if somebody doesn't like them, it just like grates on them and they can't take it. Not everybody's going to like you. And you're not going to like everybody. And that's okay. Like Leslie Jones, the actress from the female Ghostbusters movie that came out and Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, you almost said new, but there's been like one or two more since then.
Yeah, like I literally don't know anything about her. Realistically, I never watched Saturday Night Live. I've never really seen her in any other movies besides the little bit I've seen in that one. And I'm not a fan of hers. Why? I don't know. I can't put my finger. I can't say, oh, she believes this. Oh, and so I'm opposite to that belief. There's just some people who are like that. And I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to like obsess over why do I feel whatever. It is what it is. But that doesn't mean you can't keep an open mind and have your mind change, which is how I felt about Awkwafina in this movie. When she got confronted by, I don't know the person specifically, but he was a member of the family who killed her father. And he's like threatening to kill her. And she just puts her head against the barrel of the gun. All right, do it. Let's go. I'm not running away. I'm not saying away. I'm not going to bow down to you. No, bring it. Pull the trigger. I liked it. I liked some of those moments. Maybe a little unrealistic. I don't know. But there were good moments with her. And there were good moments in this movie. There were funny moments in this movie. And it was, even though it wasn't what I expected, this is one of the things I like about what we do, because in talking to you about it, I think I've appreciated it more than I did after I first watched it. So when I first watched it, I'm like, well, I almost felt like when you said Kim, she gave it 8 minutes and was like, I'm out. See ya. It was a little bit rough, I think, in parts, but I really like the actors who were in it. And, we're obviously doing this, so I'm going to watch the whole thing. But it was okay. I did enjoy it. And, well, we'll get into the end of it, watch or not a watch. I don't know if there's a whole lot more you want to talk about with this. We could pick apart scenes. I will say they did throw in one of those scenes where, even though for the most part, what you talked about, Nicholas Hoult, he eats a bug, he has these powers, he does these crazy things that she's not doing. She's not like on equal footing to him. Some scenes where she was fighting a pretty big guy, and it was a little bit unrealistic, but it wasn't so much that I was really turned off by it. I mean, they threw it in a little bit, but otherwise, just well done all around with it. The characters, the crime family situation that's all part of it. The Weasley son, who's part of the crime family, that just makes sense. That like he's never really had to do anything.
Eddie.
It was okay.
Yeah. No, it was I really enjoyed it. And yeah, towards the end it got a little crazy. Like they're fighting a lot of people who have like basically Renfield's powers, but I just kind of my head canon was he has more. He's been like this for hundreds of years. He's probably stronger than most of them. So, and then her doing all the things she's doing, it's like the story just needs her to ramp up.
And I gotta say,
hold her own, because they did a pretty good job before of making it realistic that they're both participating. Even though he's taking out like 3 or 4 people at once, and she's doing normal human like police type moves, like it worked.
It did work. And the very end, how it turns out with Dracula and what happens to him and how that happens. And she's like, I looked up this Wiccan wiki or something, whatever that was. I looked on like Wiccan Twitter or whatever. It was, I actually appreciated that a lot. That, it doesn't matter what kind of powder you use. And I thought that was very good. I did really enjoy that moment. As I said, there were some really good moments in here that just genuinely made me laugh that I really enjoyed. So when it comes down to it, I think that's about everything I have for Renfield. If I have to bring it down to a watch or not a watch, which we always do, if you want to see a Dracula movie, if you want to see something that's unlike any other sort of Dracula movie you've ever seen, little fun action, little fun comedy, maybe a decent moral. Yeah, this is a watch.
Yeah, I would say that it's a watch as well. I really enjoyed it. There are a lot of really good lines and moments. Like, something about you seems familiar. From Teddy. There's another like some of it's just not perfect.
No, not perfect. But
it's a really good way to spend about an hour and a half.
Yeah. It was worthwhile.
All right. So if you guys want to get in touch, tell us anything that you want us to watch, want to hear about, whatever, moviehowl@gmail.com. You know the drill. We're just kind of ramping back up, so we'll probably have other ways to get in touch with us. We'll get the socials going again.
Comment, subscribe, do all the things. Come on, you guys, it's YouTube. You know all the things. Do all the things. I mean,
do the things. And if you're
algorithm, I hear that they say that a lot. It helps the algorithm. So throw that in here for us. Just hit that thumbs up, whatever it is. You guys know what to do. So thanks. Yeah. We always. And
if this is still coming out as an audio podcast, then do the podcast things, because that helps with
do the podcast things.
But all the platforms are different. So whatever your platform is, do those things.
Yeah, absolutely do those things. But we appreciate it. We like to do this. We just do it because it's fun. Because we like to talk about movies no matter, regardless, we're going to do it anyways. So this is just a fun thing for us to do. Have a conversation. We hope it sparks you to have a conversation. To, the next time you're watching movies with friends, get into a conversation with them. Maybe you saw it differently. Maybe, like today, I had a conversation with Ryan, and I came to an understanding about this. Maybe I like this movie a little more than I thought I did when I first watched it. Maybe you'll come to a different realization. Open up, have a dialogue. That's what it's all about. Enjoy yourselves, enjoy your friends, And I think that's, unless I'm mistaken, I think that's about it for us on this one.
Sounds like it.
Excellent. Well, as always, I've been Joe.
I've been Ryan.
We're out. That's it. Finito. Done.